Welcome to Chauncey Board Presents Blessed be the glorious name of the Lord our God forever and ever, and let the whole earth be filled with his glory. Amen and amen. This is an audio version of one of my articles available on my Total Life Insight website. The actual reading of the article is computer generated, so it is not my voice. Enjoy. Yours truly, Chauncey.
If you desire to read the article instead of listening to this video, please see the link in the description section of the video posting. Any reference and other links to other articles mentioned in the video may be found in the written article. This is a presentation of an article to inform, inspire, influence, and ignite greater love for God, self, and all others regardless of gender, or race, or nationality, just as in the case of the strangers and proselytes of both the Old and New Testaments. Per Leviticus 19, 33-34, and Matthew 22, 34-40, and greater truth per John 17, 17.
Christianity and slavery. Lest one gets confused about what this article sets forth, let me say from the outset, I emphatically condemn the American slavery institution that once existed and any lingering support for it. I in no way condone it or justify its implementation. Voluntary slavery is biblical and righteous when regulations are followed. However, American slavery was forced/involuntary slavery, and forced slavery of kidnapped/stolen people and such is unbiblical and sinful. Indeed, the overall implementation of slavery and related racism in America was unbiblical and sinful. To the extent racism still exists, it is still unbiblical and sinful. There is no doubt that the American form of slavery was extremely cruel in far too many instances, though there are historical writings that suggest not all slave masters were cruel to their slaves. Even if some enslavers were less cruel, the institution itself was inherently brutal and sinful. American slavery was a system of dehumanization, violence, and generational trauma. It is important that history not be sanitized but rather truth be acknowledged. It is also important that the pain that comes from the reality of historical slavery and racism as well as any present-day racism not be minimized. The legacy of slavery still echoes in systemic injustice. Therefore, all Christians, black, white, and otherwise, are called to be a voice for righteousness, not just personally but communally. We are to embrace forgiveness and healing/reconciliation, yet not erase or ignore accountability. All should understand that the goal isn't guilt or reverse oppression. The goal is transformation so as to have a more equitable society free of oppressive racism and oppressive classism. For those who are possible descendants of slaves and those affected by racial injustice, a faithful Christian response is honestly lamenting the horrific reality without imposing guilt upon those alive today. Courageously working for justice and against injustice in its present manifestation, resting in the unwavering hope of God's ultimate triumph over evil, and pursuing reconciliation as a reflection of the saving work of Christ. This also means such people are not to engage in reverse racial injustice/exclusion or stereotypes against those who are possible descendants of those who possibly engaged in racial injustice/exclusion. For those who are possible descendants of slave masters and other racists, a faithful Christian response is not to assume any guilt or shame but to walk in repair and solidarity, and pursuing reconciliation as a reflection of the saving work of Christ. Whether or not someone's ancestors were involved, every believer today has a role in building a more just and reconciled world. An 1842 book about the religious instruction of the Negroes in the United States by Reverend Charles Colcott Jones, 1804-1863, a white clergyman, provides a historical account of Christianity and slavery in America up to that point. Of course, slavery did not officially end until 1865 when the 13th Amendment was passed. Racial discrimination, of course, continued even past 1865, but that is not my focus in this article. I surveyed the book for its scope and intent. The author goes into a great deal of history concerning slavery in the world in general and particularly in America. The author's goal is to encourage the reader to carry out the Great Commission as outlined in Matthew 28 verses 18 to 20. For me, pages 161 to 171 provide the core purpose of the book, which is to encourage 1. The conversion of Negroes to Christianity, and 2. A proper master-servant relationship as outlined in the Bible. Indeed, the Bible condemns the American implementation of the master-servant relationship in the form of what we know as American slavery. Yet, the Bible does not condemn all kinds of master-servant relationships. Reverend Jones holds that the Negro slaves were heathens who needed Jesus. He considered them incapable of receiving religious instructions except in limited cases. Yet, he states he is not sure if that lack of capability is due to the conditions the slave were under or if it had with how God created them. See page 178. Nevertheless, he rightly urges conversion of blacks to Christianity and treatment of them according to biblical instruction. In fact, he urges the slave owners to treat blacks as fully human, worthy of equitable treatment and justice, just as the Bible declares all people to be. He was right, since Christianity is the superior faith/religion simply because of Jesus Christ, as there is no greater hope for humankind than the biblical Jesus Christ. Did all, whites and blacks, people conform to biblical instruction? No, not then and not now. That is the spiritual battle in which we, blacks and whites, are engaged. The Library of Congress collection labeled Born in Slavery, Slave Narratives from the Federal Writers Project, 1936 to 1938 provides accounts of the treatment of slaves, including inhumaneness. Reverend Jones also gave a sermon on the same topic that has been published. He seemingly gave the sermon first in 1832 prior to the publication of the above book in 1842. A YouTube video reading by Stevie Lundiger of the published sermon is available in multiple video parts on YouTube. Links to the Library of Congress, the online version of the book by Reverend Jones, the YouTube reading of the aforementioned sermon, as well as my articles on Bible and American slavery, and basis for American slavery, and confronting historical slavery and racism and present-day racism may be found at the end of the written article available on the TotalLifeInsight.com website.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the lesson and found it enlightening. If you have any questions or comments, please contact me at chasseboard.com. That's CHAURCEYBOYD.com. God bless. Goodbye.